And all the rest of us have name tags, which will point your direction, so you can tell who they are.
Or maybe just to each other, because this is only my second meeting.
No worries, no worries. Thank you so much.
And the name tags are new, so
All right.
if you decide to come again, even as just a volunteer, we can have a name tag for you as well.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is continuing business. Reports from town staff, commissioners, and other committee members. Patrice has provided to us a couple of examples of items that it's in your information tonight as item, and it's titled 2.10 Facilitate Invasive Species Education, and 7.4 Encourage Healthy and Sustainable Food Networks. These are actual submissions from other communities that actually earned points for Sustainable Connecticut. And although I anticipate that staff will be doing the majority of writing, I thought it would be helpful for us to understand what information they're going to need from us, and how detailed some of the information is. When the folks from Sustainable Connecticut shared this with Patrice, and she and I had the opportunity to talk about it, we were both very surprised with what appeared to us to be the simplicity and the brevity of the response, but yet earned the points for them. So I think we need to sort of keep that in mind, especially if it's a project you're looking, sorry.
Wasn't me, you guys. Sure.
No, I have a duck, a choo-choo train, and Joshua's emails are frog-ridded. And if it starts singing an old Dwight Yoakam song, it's my husband. And I will just excuse myself and take the call. So just keep these in mind. I don't think we need to do anything with them at the moment. Other than to be there. And Steve provided us, as he promised at the last meeting, the Administrative Services Purchasing Policy and the Sustainable Policy from the town of Glastonbury.
Guilford actually stole it from Glastonbury. Guilford stole it from Glastonbury. So these things are shared routinely. All we have to do is go through it, tailor it to Bolton with a couple of words, and it's pretty much gospel throughout a lot of other cities already. So no reason to reinvent the wheel if it's already here. We just have to get the word copy from Glastonbury, which I can do, and make our changes, and I think it's like 25 points. You know, once we institute this policy, 25 points.
Have you had the opportunity to go through it?
I went through it pretty good, yeah.
In detail. Can you tell us what you think might be different from, or...
I think we got to tweak it with like the Parks Department or Public Works Department. I don't know what the policy is right now. It doesn't look like there's a big policy with this. But I mean, the same things I talked about.
I don't notice we have any purchasing policy, do we?
We have policies pertaining to purchasing practices and bids and whatnot, but and I believe we have a policy on various items as they relate to fracking waste.
Fracking waste,
right? And
prohibition on.
Yeah. So and we can't purchase any items that use fracking waste. So in that sense, we have that component, but nothing so thorough and specific as this.
That's just it. I think it takes just somebody that knows the policy in Bolton now to go through this. And some of the things we talked about, like the use of Roundup on the Rose Farm. I know it was done for a reason, and that kind of opens the door. If you absolutely need to do that, you can, even with this policy. It's not a good practice, but I think it takes somebody that knows the town rules now, knows what's being done now, to look through this better than I. I mean, this is pretty simple, and again, we could change it to Bolton's rules, or Bolton's policies, wishes, whatever we want to call it, in a matter of minutes. And so I've looked at it, I like it,
Okay.
but I don't know what Bolton does now.
Okay, I'm not sure I do either, because I don't do purchasing.
Yeah, but even the facilities guy, I mean, talk
Yeah.
about what you're buying and how you're using it.
Yeah.
So just to have a third set of eyes look at it, maybe share it with some of the other committees and let them take a look. And it's a simple fix.
I think I will move this review to staff and the administration subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen to review and come back. And do you know if the Board of Education has a sustainable purchasing policy or a purchasing policy that might prohibit purchase of certain items?
Off the top of my head, but I'm not up on our purchasing policies,
Okay,
so I can look into it.
okay. I think John would probably understand, correct, John Butchermovich? The facilities guy,
Would think so.
but maybe not
But
100% of the policies.
Maybe not the granularity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Okay, so you could include John and Kristen in your
Right.
request for staff reviews as well as other staff, and then once you get the staff feedback, we'll take it to facilities and administration.
Sounds good.
Then bring it back here for sort of a final read through and make sure we didn't tweak anything incorrectly, or that there's something else that this collective body thinks we should look at. I think that would be a good move. So thank you, Stan, for getting this for us. And if you could follow up and get the Word document,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
that would be fabulous, and just email it to Josh.
Yeah.
And we'll get working on it. Awesome. Did you have something, Josh?
I do. Well, first and foremost, I do want to just point out to everybody that we are filming tonight. Again, oh yeah, I forgot to. This is an effort to try and increase transparency in town and get people excited about what we're doing here. So we do have a camera running. But second, I did want to note that last time we had discussed specifically an effort to train municipal commissions. It's item 7.3 in your packet. And we will be having a townwide, anybody and everybody's welcome to attend, but we strongly are encouraging all board chairs especially, but all commissioners, to attend a Freedom of Information Act training. That's going to be on Monday, February 24th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. Again, anybody is certainly welcome, but for those of you who are in need of using your FOI information on a more regular basis as you're scheduling, setting meetings, meeting agendas, and submitting minutes, it's going to be all the more useful for you. So,
And we were actually able to get the individual who was the supervising manager in the Connecticut Freedom of Information Commission. So,
Same time as last time? Same guy?
I don't know who was here last time.
it's the chair of the
What's his name?
state, or it's the administrator of the state FOI commission. Unfortunately,
Hennick? Thomas Hennick?
That's
Yes, that's it, Tom.
Same as last time.
There were
Yeah.
two musketeers that ran the program. I think one of them retired.
I think you're right.
And I hope it wasn't Tom.
No, it wasn't. Tom,
Okay.
Tom was the
Tom
one
was-
who's
He was here last time. He was
Exactly.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And he does know his stuff. He's very open to audience participation through question and answer, but he also knows how to control the crowd. So I think it'll be a very productive evening for everybody. And every time I go to an FOI session, I go, oh my God, why did I not know that? So, thank you, Josh, for pointing that out for us. While we're on that, on the Sustainable Connecticut website, there are a list of upcoming events. And I just wanted to point out to you, these are free. You can attend one or more. Some of them are in Hartford, some of them are in other locations. No obligation for anybody to take them, but if you get Josh a copy of any certificate that you would receive for attendance, we'll get points for attendance. And Josh will be reaching out to chairs of boards and commissions in town to say who on your committee has attended a training session in the last 24 months related to the work that your commission does. Because and then just ask for names and dates of attendance, because that'll help you.
Now, what do they qualify as a training? What's their definition of a training session? In other words, Conservation Commission attends annual CACUIC meetings. That's the Connecticut Association of Conservation and
Those would definitely qualify.
Good.
I would suggest that a webinar for an hour is a little iffy. A webinar for 2 hours probably will get us some points.
These are all-day conferences.
And live attendance at an all-day conference will certainly
includes lunch too.
And it's a good lunch. I've been to those. But just to let you know, some of them out there, March 6th, there's a seminar on economic value of urban parks and public places, and that's going to be at the Eversource building in Hartford on Sheldon Street. Developing solar on brownfields. Fortunately, Bolton does not have any brownfields, so I'm not sure that's exactly applicable. The State of Transportation and Healthy Equity, January 23rd. That is a webinar, and it's only an hour, but maybe I was wrong with that. The Gallivan Conference at the UConn School of Law on January 21st. Historic and Green, a new climate agenda. That's an all-day conference. Preventing, reducing food waste and recovering food for people. That is also a webinar, and that's an hour on January 27th. A transit roundtable suggests challenges to your community. That one's in Norwalk. You might want to pass. And then there are a series of basic sessions which talk about Sustainable Connecticut. And if relevant commissioners attend, one of them is for Board of Education members, specifically in Meriden. So take a look at what's out there. If you can fit it into your schedule, by all means do it.
Does the webinar mean it takes place on the internet? Or?
A webinar would mean that you sign in on your computer, participate in the program from wherever it is that you're sitting. And Town Hall does have high-speed internet, and we allow guests to come. So if you need a place to come take the webinar and it's during hours Town Hall is open, you're definitely welcome to come here and do it.
Can I just add, Sandra, too, that on a lot of webinars you can actually register for the webinar, but if you're unavailable at the time that it's a live feed, you can always, because you registered, you can have access to it for a period of time. So it doesn't have to be like if it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you can't watch it, register for it anyway, and they'll often send you the link so you can see it in its recorded phase.
Usually, to get credit, you need to be part of the live, but that don't let the fact that there's something here that really, really spikes your interest, and you say, I really, I know she said solar on brownfields doesn't apply to Bolton, but golly, I'd really like to know about it. You can enroll for that.
With respect to brownfields, is the designation brownfield something that some federal or state
It's
organization?
EPA designation.
Okay, because we have the old drive-in theater site down adjacent to Brea Park, which to my mind certainly perhaps should be registered as a brownfield. I mean, there's, all sorts of automobile droppings and asbestos, and
Yeah,
it's a bad
at
spot.
one point, we had several, including the Bolton Motors site, the Griffin dewatering site, and Constitution Coach. But those have been, and the old G&H paving site on Route 85, those have all been remediated to EPA standards. So at the current time,
Yeah, okay.
They probably checked up that Great Park, right?
I'm sorry?
They probably checked up there then if there's enough.
Well,
I don't believe it was a business, it's mostly a trash dump at this
Oh.
point.
It was a business. It was a
A drive-in theater,
drive-in theater.
correct.
And at some point, there was a big deal about the screen because it contained a lot of asbestos.
Asbestos, yeah.
Crystalline asbestos. Yes, but they say it's already pretty much settled into the soils. And that's why it's important to keep motorcycles out, because they kick up the
They
soils.
kick up the
and they could
soils, yeah.
expose innocent bystanders, people that are hiking on trails.
But there are a lot of
So even if there's no like clear evidence that it can directly pertain to Bolton, if we go,
correct, if,
Okay.
as long, yeah. Go take the webinar. Josh printed 16 pages, and
Yeah.
why don't we share that around the room so people know what they're looking for when they go on the website to look. And feel free to register as a member of Bolton's Sustainable Committee.
And if you're looking for this on the website, up on the top, you go to sustainablectu.org, up on the top right-hand side, you'll find resources tab. Click on that. You should find educational workshops. There's a tab down below once you've reached that page, and that's where I found all of these. So, not too
Great.
I can send the link too next time I reach out to all of you.
Is there an expectation if one of us does attend them that we report back to them anyway? Or is there a form, like you said, that we're?
No, we don't have there should be some sort of attendance recognition that we'd appreciate it if you shared with us, because right now I'm a hungry points ogre. I'd like to be able to get the points for your initiative, and I think we could probably all learn something. But on the other hand, if you go and you're a little bit shy about sharing, bring us the handouts. And Josh can take a look at it, and we can share it with the committee that way. And a lot of these webinar things also have electronic copies, so that after the webinar or before the webinar, you can download the slides that you're going to be seeing on the webinar, and that would be something appropriate to share with the committee. And if you're on something and 15 minutes in, you go, oh my God, please, Lord, get me out of here. Feel free.
Sandy, question about the time frame. Has the clock started ticking yet? Have we filed? Have we actually applied yet?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so-
We applied.
What's the date on that?
We passed the resolution at this.
Selectmen's meeting in September.
Actually, it might have been August. It was either August or September, because I think it was my first board meeting.
It's a while back.
Yep.
So, and how retroactive, how far back can it, is it 24 months forward after
Actually,
August? or-
I believe it's 24 months from the date we submit this application,
Oh,
Okay, gotcha.
not the day from 24 months from when we signed
that's
up.
the resolution, right? Yeah.
Okay, so it's after August, 24 months. So
Yeah.
2 years from.
No, 24 months. Let's plan on 24 months back from, let's say, April 1st, 2020. So anything after April 1st, 2018,
Okay.
for things that have already been accomplished.
So I'll send you a list of training sessions that we've attended since April 1st.
And I would say that anything that the Board of Ed members have done towards their professional responsibilities as elected members of the Board of Education might also qualify.
Regarding sustainability?
No, just a lot of this is education and community involvement.
Oh, okay. And when does this end?
We are hoping to have a Sustainable Connecticut application in the next round. So we would submit a preliminary application in April sometime, and then our final application in August. And I'm seriously hoping we can qualify for, oh my God, what's the first, bronze or something? Bronze.
Yep.
At that point. Patrice Carson, our Director of Community Development, has been working on this and is confident that if we can, as a group, collect information and come up with a project or two that either our commissions can do or that we can do, there's an outside chance we could even make silver, which is the next step up. And then beyond that, right now, there's a gold standard, which takes considerably more points. So we could decide that we got to bronze and it was too painful and we really don't want to go forward, but I'd like us to not give this up. So I don't think it's time delimited by, 18 months down the road. But that said, we can change commission people in and out. If we get new volunteers like Jane who want to come in and serve for a short, and Kitty who want to serve for a short period of time, and we can get them enthusiastic on a project, we can get people moving in and out of the commission. It's not a lifetime commitment, but there's opportunities for extended period of time.
Okay.
All right.
I've got something to report.
Sure.
We are coming to the home stretch on our energy benchmark. I have 2 energy benchmarks that are coming up, 2018 and 2019.
Excellent.
I can tell you right now that the 2018 benchmark is showing a significant reduction in carbon from the gas. We switched off of oil onto the gas, and the carbon has dropped in it. From that part of the energy benchmark, the carbon's dropped about in half.
Wow.
That said, I'm still working on compiling these 2 benchmarks. And Josh, you'll be getting a letter from me asking for documents for the 2019 benchmark soon. But I want to finish 2018 first.
Okay.
Second of all, I've got a number of solar projects too that I can't talk about yet. That should get us 50 points, assuming that we can get them installed and past all the obstacles by the end of this year. There's 50 points there for us, so that's a significant chunk. That's 6.4. And the energy benchmark was 6.1.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
Yes.
Peter.
2 months ago, I mentioned that FBL has been holding forums, and I have a list of our forums. I don't know if that's sufficient information about them that you need. If you need anything more, just let me know.
I think we can pass these to Patrice. Are you willing to be a contact person if she does need more information?
Yes. And I may go to somebody else on the board to get information.
Fine.
I just read through that. I just got that this afternoon. I just read through it, and I believe there's 2 other meetings that would qualify where professors and their students, one from Wesley and one from UConn, came and spoke to us at an appropriate time at the end of their semester, so it didn't fit in with our forum directly. But so there might be 2 more.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't see anything here about the Trinity presentation, which was very nice.
Which one?
The students from Trinity, has that been?
No, there was
Forms.
Wesleyan and
Oh.
UConn.
I think it was Wesleyan, not Trinity.
Yeah, oh, that was excellent. And then that's the, as it wasn't a forum, I asked for forum information. And
Yeah, maybe had to be a
But
little more
we go back to our
specific.
records and,
Yeah.
you know, we have the date and
Yeah.
who it is, and I will do that.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you.
I have an update.
Okay,
So for 2.5, create natural resource wildlife inventory, I had said I would go and talk to a professor up at UConn. I talked to the head of the NRE department, and he said if a student were to do that, it's not as easy as it sounds.
oh, okay,
Basically, he said that students will do something like that for a small property over the course of a semester, not an entire town. So that wasn't good news. I'm sorry.
I do also have a little bit of news actually to share on that same subject. We have a contractor who's been working with us on another matter on the other side, the southern part of town, who, in advising us, has asked, he's been doing this similar work, it sounds like, in other towns, and in his free time he asked for access to town property to evaluate plants specifically. So not all fauna, but at least evaluating plants and specifically mapping out where certain rarities are and trying to get a bit of a list going. So it's better than nothing, I figure. So
yeah.
Yeah, Josh, if you wouldn't mind forwarding his information, I'd love
Sure.
to walk with him in our parks and show him some areas that we think that are pretty special.
you got it.
So he's a botanist is he locally?
Yes, he's a wetland
Locally
agent.
grown?
Wetland agent, and most of his work,
Oh.
I believe, has been down on the southern coast. But yeah, I'll get you his information.
Cool, thanks.
Okay,
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm a little behind here. I missed the first couple meetings because it conflicted. Do we have a list of these actions that we're attempting to address?
one of the things we've done at our last couple of meetings is to go through pretty much line by line on what the requirements are. You aren't required to, our goal is to assemble a specific number of points, and if you look in the next to the last column here,
Right.
it'll give you your number of points. You have to earn at least 5 points in every category. And you need to have completed every category in what they call the sustainability actions. But we've been going through this up until now to identify things that we think the groups have already done, and where it's a documentation like Peter's Bolton Lakes information. And Alyssa volunteered to check with her contacts at UConn. And then also, I have a note here about water conservation.
Oh, yeah. So I haven't heard back.
That's fine.
But
That's
I do have the tip sheets that I used while I was there.
cool.
If anybody wants to look at them, they're pretty fun. Well, I think they're fun.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I take a look?
Yeah, there's 27.
Wow.
So that'll be quick reading.
I would think that certainly could, if you feel confident, that.
I didn't make them.
No,
Okay, yeah.
no, I'm not saying make
Yeah,
them.
so that's what
But
the
I'm
person who
certainly
made them,
that.
I emailed them, but I know for a fact I think they're out for a little bit.
Okay. So if that's, I think that would be something that could probably be a 1 or 2 hour presentation.
Oh, easily.
And we could set that up for you either here or over at the library if you feel more comfortable over there.
Yeah, either way, and I can ask her for additional resources like that. Or, it seems like UConn has some sort of municipal water program, but we don't have municipal water, so I don't know if they have for municipalities the resources for, I don't know if they have resources for municipalities where people are on private water. I was gonna look into that too, but I haven't.
And did
We
you,
do have a whole section that's served by a water company,
we do, we have
Oh, yeah.
Connecticut Water Company
coming
as
in
well.
and roast it.
So we were looking at resources for people who have to test their water themselves too, yeah. Because those are more heavily regulated.
And did that answer all your questions, or are you?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I think I wanted to back up a little bit, and the last time being my first meeting, I'm still in the weeds or the clouds or whatever. I'm certainly not firmly planted in what it is that we're trying to do. I mean, if we want to have some kind of an application by April, and it's mid-January, structurally for me, it's just, I would like to know what sort of is the big picture, having missed one of the first meetings. If we continue to go through this line by line and just sort of pick and choose, but I don't know. I haven't been on any commissions or boards, so I'm not exactly sure what the
And
process
never having
is.
done a Sustainable Connecticut project before,
We're all new.
We're all new to this, okay,
we're
great.
all very new to this, and I think my decision to go through this line by line was to get people thinking about, wow, I could do that.
Okay.
Because what we would do in April is submit a preliminary application.
Right.
And Sustainable Connecticut would go through it for us, no harm, no nothing, and basically say, this is great, we think you'd get 5 points, and if you want 5 points on this one, you've got to provide additional information, and this won't qualify.
Okay.
That kind of thing in April, and then between April and August, we'd be completing projects and completing things. So, for example, Alyssa's well water testing and safety, and I just picked that title out of the air.
Sounds good.
Sounds really good.
That presentation could be scheduled for May, but we could say, in April, we're doing this, and it's going to be in May, and this is what it's going to cover, and
Well, that was my
it's 2
question.
hours on,
Yeah.
2 hours by a trained XYZ on how to determine if your well water is safe.
So the completion of, and I guess I'm a timetable person, and I'm
Yeah.
visually trying to imagine if we're submitting an application in April, but we're forecasting that we will be providing certain documents or results or a presentation, what's that period of time? If we
Okay.
have 24 months, I think that was,
Yeah, no.
and I'm
We have-
sorry if I'm a little
Well,
dense
I
on
think
this.
the other part of that is, looking through this, what are the things that we've already checked? Like, is there a marked up copy of this where, you've gone through line by line and said, so-and-so is gonna look into this, and we've done this, and, just so I can see where are the blanks that I could maybe help out with.
Yeah, do we have this in a working template?
So
or is it-
Patrice has been keeping track of everything that
Yeah.
she's working on, and then I think between the many of us, we've each
I
been
don't think
keeping
we
track
have
of
that,
what
but
we've
that's
committed
certainly
to.
a goal for our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's how my brain works.
Yes, that's fine.
So, and I'm fine with going through this and getting ideas, and I'm cool. I just need to know that right
Yeah.
now we're still in that
Okay,
process.
to put it in an academic
It's a process
framework,
for me.
think of April as our outline is due,
Yes,
and our report is due in August. Does that help you?
it does. I think, and then, in terms of forecasting a projected event, around any of these categories, it still feels very big and unwieldy to me, and there's a part of me that says, how do we organize it in such a way that we're all quite literally on the same page? And that's me being a newbie to this
And-
process, but not to organizing large projects, so.
Yeah, and Patrice is doing our organizing, so I'm just kind of counting on this group to keep us on task, to keep us focused and identify opportunities, like Peter and his list of Bolton Lakes, like Stan and his sustainable purchasing, like Alyssa and her knowledge on well water, and Rod has lots of things that the Conservation
Low-hanging fruit.
Commission.
So that's what we were looking at, actually, the first couple of meetings that I've attended. We're just basically running through this. I'm not sure where we left off last time, but it would be nice to have some sort of record of what we accomplished. We don't
Yep.
take minutes, which is kind of like, I hate to see us spin the same wheels,
Right.
spin the wheels in the same,
Yeah.
in the same place and not get anywhere. So, like for instance, I just had a quick question. Again, it's off track, but in March, the Conservation Commission will be showcasing the library. And I'm wondering if there's anything that plugs into points for Sustainable Connecticut in that area. And if there was, the topic that we're choosing is citizen science. But what if we were to pick something different? Is there something else we could add to that? Like well water testing or anything that we've mentioned? Is there any points for showcasing at library?
I think it would fall under some of that education piece that we were talking about.
Which number was that? What area? Did we already go through that, or is that new?
Well, in section 2, it's a lot of that,
Yeah,
it's
we
been
went
in
through it.
process, we talked about that.
I hate to regress. Sorry to go backwards.
No, I think,
You know, we're
well,
also
I just
gonna-
like to second your first suggestion, which is to really help us have some sort of a visual tracking of
yeah, some
what
sort
we've
of
already.
notes from the meeting, what we accomplished.
Yes.
That would be good. We could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And given the fact that there are, I believe, still a few items that we have left to go over that we didn't
Yeah.
quite finish from last
No, I
time.
forgot where we left off last time. It was halfway through, I believe.
We stopped at the bottom of 4.7. We had just started, we looked at 5.
Okay.
I have start next time at the end of that page where it starts with 5.
Great, I know, so we didn't get into recycling. I'm looking
Right.
forward to that.
Yeah.
Correct.
So certainly as we go through this next part, we can make a more concerted effort to try and designate and take notes on who is perhaps taking point on some of these items.
Yep.
And maybe following, and I don't know if that's how you want to take it, Sam.
That's fine.
And then following that, we can go back through and if, people had other points from before that they really wanted to make sure the group knows, hey, I want to take a point on this, then we'll take it down and it will all be, as you said, in a more digestible form for next time.
And I'm just gonna put this out here and I'm willing to step in and do what needs to be done, but if we've already borrowed materials from Glastonbury and I'm following Sustainable Connecticut on, I don't know if it's LinkedIn or Facebook, one of those social media things, is it possible for us to get an application that's already been submitted by another town?
Yes.
And really get a good sense of what it looked like, or?
Almost every action on the Sustainable Connecticut website that's behind this worksheet will give you samples of what other towns have done.
Okay.
So it's not terribly friendly, but you can find them.
Okay. I think that's just a helpful thing, because I'm noticing a few towns are getting some recognition around their submissions, and so I'm thinking, well, right with the Glastonbury thing, why reinvent the wheel if
Exactly.
other municipalities akin to ours
Right.
have some of those submission documents, we can
Right.
cite them and
The-
thank them for their hard work.
The requirement-
We ask permission to use.
The requirement for bronze is 200 or more points and one what they call equity toolkit. And the silver certification is 400 points and 3 equity toolkits. So I think the equity toolkits are going to be by far the most difficult for us because there's something in every category, but you can also use things in your equity toolkit that you've used elsewhere. You just sort of have to cross-reference them. But let's start with 5.1.
Complete streets, yes.
Yeah, we don't have a complete streets.
But we have completed a community.
An activity plan, is that?
No.
No, what's it called? I'm sorry, I forgot the connectivity.
safety
Yes, community connectivity. That's what it is. We talk about it all the time.
That's what it was.
There's so many different terms for so many different projects. So community connectivity is something that ours was conducted, I'd say probably a year ago or so, and we ended up with a road safety audit. And there was, I think we talked about this at the last meeting. You gave us a breakdown on that, and the results were proposed like a trail
We
alongside
have
the
a
road.
grant
We have a
that's
grant.
currently in engineering that will take the Bolton Center Road ditch, if you will, that runs from the Harney property across from the firehouse up Bolton Center Road to, what's the street you drive down every day? Is that Old Bolton Road?
Old Sunni Road, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it's Old Bolton Road.
Old Bolton, yeah.
So it comes down to
I think
Old
so.
Bolton Road, and then there are some right-of-way issues in the center of town that the engineer is working on. And then it will come somehow around Town Hall, either in front of Town Hall or to the back, and down to the Heritage Farm. So it will allow walkability, biking safely, not on the paved road, but on some sort of a gravel path from Notch Road to the Heritage Farm.
That's fantastic. That's a great.
Yeah. Now,
and
whether
actually, so we got some funding for that too.
we do, we have a grant. We have a DOT grant for that.
Now, can they? Is that program still accepting? Are they starting another round? Or considering another round of that? Do you know? Or I mean, I should know that. I'm on the Complete Streets committee at DOT, and they talk about it all the time. And it's
don't
been one
know
of the
the
most
answer.
successful programs that DOT has done.
Yeah,
in
I
promoting
don't know the answer to
complete
that, but
streets.
I don't believe we can have more than one open grant at a time.
Oh, so it's still open. Okay.
Yeah, so our, well,
Because to me,
project
when
hasn't
I
been
think of road
completed.
safety, I think of the other day I was coming from dropping off Peter Van Dyne in Bolton Lake, coming west on 44 by the hardware store and taking a left-hand turn into the hardware store. Has anyone ever done that
It's a
before?
Yes.
horrible
They
intersection.
gotta fix that.
been
And
that way
then
for
coming
years.
to pick up Peter, coming from Bolton Notch, from the commuter lot, getting on the highway, racing to that left lane so I don't get, so I got a spot. Those gotta get fixed. I don't know how long we can go before we have to see a serious accident.
We had a couple of serious
Yeah.
accidents there.
So, is there
long
anything
time.
in this Sustainable Connecticut that we could kind of like start a project with or something? Have the selectmen discussed this? What are the
Oh,
selectmen?
with ad nauseum.
Yeah, I'm sure. Is there any
We
action?
have had multiple meetings with DOT to ask them to fix the issue at the bottom of Notch Road.
That too.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's even worse all right?
And to do something for calming traffic coming down the end of 384. Because the signs that say the posted speed limit drops to 40 miles an hour doesn't slow anybody down.
That's
And
It is really bad.
With that,
It's a joke.
at that road where that goes on to 44, where 384 is slowing down.
Yeah.
yes,
That's not true.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
not
that is
true.
not true. I didn't
Yeah.
know if it turned into something
Well,
else.
back in the day, it used to swing over, right? It used to, the Route 6 used to swing, you could come all the way up Route 6, and I'm trying to remember where.
Yeah, you could
One of
cross
my
right over.
concer-
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you could go clear across to
Yes, that's right.
go into Manchester, but that's
My
been gone.
parents always told us like don't even take that intersection, but Google Maps takes you there, which is like insane to me. And I know not to do it, but I feel like out of towners don't, and they know.
They don't.
So I wonder. I've read of places in like New Jersey and stuff where they took roads where Waze had been directing people to, and they made it a no through road, and then suddenly those apps can't take you that way.
Oh, interesting.
I can find the article.
Yeah,
But you have to have
that would be interesting to see, to make it a no.
transportation
Well, if
approved.
you designated a no-through street, which the selectmen have done to Williams Road, many, many years ago, vehicles over a certain weight are not allowed on that road. So Waze wouldn't necessarily know who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
So according to this, we have 3 years to build a complete streets committee or a team. I'm sorry, I use the word team that reflects the demographics of your town. I don't know. It's complete.
It's certainly
streets.
something we could consider, but we're not going to complete 3 years before August.
3 years from April, I thought would be. It says 3.
Oh, no, this is build a complete streets. Oh, I thought you meant within
It says
3
the
years.
complete streets
We haven't
training-
started
training.
yet.
Oh, okay, so this training alone must have occurred within 3 years prior to application submission.
Yeah.
Prior.
Complete Streets team will submit points as long as the recent meeting or stakeholder meeting occurred within 1 year prior to the submission. So that's probably something we could do.
And if you develop a policy, you get more points, you get 20.
Right, 20 points for a policy.
Yeah,
That should be
the
simple.
Capital
It
Region
states an
Council of
intent to
Governments.
plan.
So that's really easy, low hanging
That's a
fruit.
really easy one,
Let's
an
look and see
intent
what
to plan.
I always think of the town that's similar to us, very similar in demographics, as far as population, schools, mill rate. Canton, Connecticut.
Canton, Connecticut.
Canton, Connecticut. Check them out. They're just very similar to
More
us.
commerce, a little
Average
bit.
income.
Yeah.
So if we could see if I'm sure I actually know the town planner in Canton. I bet you they have a complete streets policy, and maybe we can borrow it.
The Capital Region Council of Governments just adopted today a region-wide complete streets policy that we could probably borrow from. It's somewhat innocuous, but
Well, out of that should come some planning to improve some of these accidents waiting to happen, intersections. They're just been this way for so
unfortunately,
long.
Rod, we can meet with DOT until we're purple, but
Yeah.
we have very little pull with them, even with our legislators on our side, and they will tell you that their issue is funding.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
On 5.1. There's a lot of time I'm home with the baby, and I will be wanting to take him out in the carriage behind my bicycle in the springtime. Well, a lot of the passageways on the trail get really narrow. I know that they're trying to keep snowmobiles and whatever else off, but that's pulling a baby carriage, or pulling the trailer carriage behind the bicycle is a perfectly legitimate use of the trail. If we open some of those up a little bit, we could maybe get some points, and that wouldn't cost much money at all.
Unfortunately, those aren't under our control. Those are under DOT control.
The EP or DOT, yeah. Isn't it DEP now that manages it?
Depends
Yeah.
on where and which trail. Down at the notch to get onto the trail before you go into the tunnel, that is DEEP, but you get farther down and it's DOT.
Oh.
Because I've noticed that those same sorts of things are open in Vernon,
Yep,
but they're closed in Bolton and they're closed in Andover.
it's certainly something we could reach out and see if we can do that.
Yep. And that
Because I
could
know
be
the Bike
points.
Walk Bolton people would really like that as well, because it's very difficult for someone who might be on a
Wheelchair.
wheelchair or an assisted bicycle,
Yeah.
assistive bicycle to get
Kind of
down.
like the only disadvantage to that. You're talking about the opening, the access part.
Well,
Gaining access.
even if I, with the regular trail bike, if I ride my son down into Andover, there are these skinny little, gotta get off your bike, walk around gates everywhere. Every time you hit a street.
The reason it's unfortunate. The history of that area is basically been a very serious problem with volunteers trying to basically deal with ATVs and motorcycles, and even 4x4s. And they get in there and they just rip up everything, and there's not much you can do. We actually, our volunteers, they take notes, they take pictures, they don't confront, they report them, and you can't catch them and then they won't even respond unless they're on state property. The DEP won't respond unless the ATV is on state property. So it's kind of like it's been a problem. So that's why the access is narrow, because of ATVs.
But I don't think he's proposing making the access wide enough for a four-wheeler, but if it's a motorcycle, they can get through just about where a bicycle does as well.
Right. And
what do they call those things?
Oh, what's the latest?
And
things
they're
they
open.
have?
They're open in Vernon.
Huge things.
All these trails are open in Vernon.
What are those big things now they're called? They're not even, they're bigger than ATVs. They have roll bars on the top. Have you seen those? The safari things? There was one in my neck of the woods just a couple of weeks ago. Couldn't believe it. Just trying to go through.
I have one of those in my garage made by Bobcat.
Yeah.
It's
That's what it is.
an all-terrain.
Oh, so that was you I saw in the back.
No, I only go in my yard. Its farthest excursion has been to the Heritage Farm where I promptly got myself stuck in the mud.
But you're saying, Richard, that Vernon's are open. I've used the
Yeah,
trails in Vernon.
Vernon's
Yeah,
are-
there's
Vernon's are wide open
there's
and
no
fine.
drop bars.
But as soon as we get into Bolton, like if I want to take, I don't know, take my son for a ride down the trail, as soon as we get into Bolton, I've got to get through these narrow little
You have
stretches.
to slow down a lot.
yeah.
And I can't take my son out in the trailer for any kind of distance on the trails
Right.
without hitting barriers.
Right. I'm wondering what's
You know,
Vernon doing that we're not
It's been,
aware
well,
of. Or,
Vernon had a patrol person on an ATV, believe it or not, that monitored their trails for a long time and scared away, he arrested the people that were trespassing that or using their ATVs illegally because there's no motorized vehicles allowed.
right.
But in Bolton, it's still fresh in everyone's minds, that they tend to, they go in Freya Park, they go behind the drive-in. As a matter of fact, we had an opening, it was about 6 months ago, somebody cut with one of those brush hogs.
I don't know what
6
they
foot
cut it
wide
with, but
opening right around our gate, right to Freya Park.
Wow.
And Tom was quick. John was quick enough to get these huge boulders to block it off. There's been some history with, actually even with mountain bikes. There was like a mountain bike park at one time where people were on seesaws and it looked like Swiss Family Robinson up in the woods where they were just actually going on planks. They actually went up there with pallets and made these
Jumps
these jumps with logs. It was quite a sophisticated network until the property owner found out that it was on his property. Then the state police got involved and they had to remove everything they built.
Well, Rod, take a look at the second one, 5.1.2. If you have attended any trainings in the last 3 years on,
Yeah, once a
on
month.
that,
I
I
attend.
think that you would help us qualify for those 5 points.
I'll look into this. I'm going to contact Neil Pade, who's the town planner for Canton, and try to get a copy of their complete streets policy so the selectmen can review that maybe.
I think Canton is a, certified town. We might be able to get it off the website, off the Sustainable Connecticut website too.
Right. Because again, road safety audit, it's all about getting people out of their cars and into alternative modes of transportation, intermodal transportation, and promoting more in the way of bicycle trails and paths, through Bolton. Another idea I had at one point was to design a bike route through Bolton. Look at the streets that have the least amount of accidents or actually have the most shoulders and connect our parks or connect, with the bike path. Have a bike route. It did West Hartford. My dad was on the town council in West Hartford years ago and he proposed a bike route and it worked pretty well until the signs fell down and people didn't use it. But it went right from one park to another. West Hartford has quite a few parks. It actually connected all their town parks with the bike route on the streets. These are not bike paths through the woods. These are street routes that people can ride their bikes safely, families, and not Route 85. Something it had to be a secondary road, something like Loomis Road or maybe Bolton Center Road would qualify for a bike route.
Parts of it.
Yeah. Connecting Gay City with Heritage Farm.
Is that where the unpaved, I'm trying to think of.
The connectivity grant that we were
Yes.
just talking
Yes.
Is that where, is it going on Branson Road?
It'll go along Bolton Center Road from Notch Road to Old Bolton Road and then
So
come
if we could
around, so.
incorporate that in there,
Yeah,
that would be safe.
That's a good, maybe work off of that and spring off of that once that's completed. Any idea what your time frame is on that as far as, it all depends on the engineer.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to predict when the engineer is going to be done with the project, but that's where we are at this point. There are some engineering nightmares right along that particular stretch. There are multiple houses whose leach fields actually encroach upon the town's right-of-way. And the leach fields have been there since before zoning. So it's going to be difficult to dig to put a drain pipe in there. So, but they're working on it. So.
Good.
These are tough categories, though, all having requirements of work being done for years prior to our submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that prior, 3 years prior.
Yeah, 3 years. One is 5 years prior, within 5 years. Oh, this, yeah.
All of them say prior, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think realistically in the next 3 months, if we were to accomplish anything, to look at 5.1.1 and 5.1.2 would be the most realistic.
Exactly.
And that's 10 points, and that's 5% of
That
the way
means-
to our bronze goal, and
That's
that's
right.
pretty good for one little section.
That's what I'm saying. If
Exactly.
we can at least say that we've attended a training,
Yeah,
you know,
get that out the door.
right.
So thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rod.
Rod, do you know about anything about the CT Rides Transportation Leaders Program?
You know, I know they talked about CT rides. The Connecticut League of Conservation Voters had their annual meeting last week at Trinity College. And if anybody ever gets a chance to go onto their website, you can actually see they videotaped the entire conference.
Wow.
CTN, is it? CTN? Videotaped the whole thing. And they spoke about CT Ride, and they had different panels, and it was just really informative. They pretty much map out their legislative effort, you know, for the next session, which starts in February, so they do it in January every year. It's pretty good. Good chance. They mentioned CT Rides, but I can't really answer that question for you. Zane.
Okay.
There's only one piece to that, isn't
Yeah.
it? Being a part of that.
I just not familiar with the program, so.
Anything we can do with the Hale Trail?
With,
The Hale Trail?
Nathan
The new
Hale.
trail that we're.
I never heard of it as the Hale Trail. It's pretty good. All hail on the trail.
no, the Nathan
Yeah.
Hale Greenway.
Right, that's great.
Ask your question.
Well, how could we get points or use our development of the Nathan Hale Trail?
At this point, there has been no development on the Nathan Hale Trail.
So there is no trail there.
There is no trail yet. We have a group of volunteers who were going to go down and flag a trail.
Okay.
But it was very difficult to identify where the consultants had thought the trail should go. And right now there are a large number of trails through the property that have been made by people who have used the property informally over a long period of time, that it's been basically abandoned by the state. So the last I heard from the volunteers, they were waiting for some GPS information from the consultants to see if they could go in and flag the trail, so at least we could get some volunteers in there with hand tools and get a trail flagged and marked. But that certainly would be an area. Bolton we have a trails committee that the volunteers are working through. So
So the volunteers are part of the Trails Committee, or?
correct.
Okay. Because the Conservation Commission, as part of Trails Day, pretty much flagged the same route that the Land Trust used back on the Friday after Thanksgiving 2 years ago. And that, I understand, is being pretty well worn. It's pretty
Yes,
well
it
used, and
is.
they're working off of that. They're continuing, I guess, east towards Coventry, from what I understand.
Actually, the committee that was going to flag trails was going to flag them from, I don't know if just very near where Bolton Collision is on Route 6.
Yeah, that's where the access point is.
Yeah, that there is a former staging area for state vehicles when they were doing some work in that area. And as you drive in, there's a parking lot of sorts.
Level field.
Yeah,
Yep.
a
With lots of
stable
turtles.
level field with lots of debris.
Turtles, too. A lot of
Turtles, too.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Gotta be careful you don't run them over.
Yeah, but anyways, they were going to flag from that point, but getting from that point to where the consultants thought the trail should be
Okay.
was difficult.
Now, what is the story with that parcel of land? Because the maps, the GIS maps, and we have a new format now on our website. It's maintained by Krog.
Krog, that's right.
So there's a parcel of land, which it's my understanding that was deeded from the DOT to the town, that connects to the back of the England hardware store.
No.
That's not the parcel I'm thinking of then.
Well,
Is that-
we don't connect to the back of England Hardware. It comes very close, but
Okay, but
not.
there is a parcel behind England Hardware that was deeded to the town from the state?
I think the state retained that.
They retain that? Okay,
There's
so
a-
that's why it's not marked then, because it
there's
used to
a
be marked,
funny-
but now it's not.
There's a funny piece of land in that area, and without
Okay.
having the maps in front of me,
Okay,
I can't describe
Because to
to you
me, that
where it
was
is,
just-
but the state did retain some pieces of property in that area for potential road changes in the notch.
because that was the area that I thought would have been a great access point, a parking area. Actually, part of the pavement behind the hardware store, if you go in behind the hardware store, and you wonder why, why is the parking lot so big? That's the parcel that's owned by the state, according to the map. You can park in that parking lot, and it's state property, according to the map.
You mean as you go down?
You go around the back.
Go
If you
around
ever,
the
you ever
back.
fill your propane tank, you got to go around the back. As you go around and you look to the right, the parking lot goes way off to the southwest, towards the highway.
Yeah,
Because-
that's where isn't that where the old road was? Wasn't
No.
there?
No, that got extended when they put the sewers in. That was
I
used
think
as
you're right.
a
Staging
site.
area for the sewers, yeah, that could be.
So it just seemed to make sense that if we were going to have an access point on the north end of the Nathan Hale Trail, that would be a good secondary access. The first one being behind Bolton Collision Repair, of course, but
The only issue with that is the only access to that now is across private property.
right. But the long-term plan is to bring a bike path up from the tunnel somehow, and there's been different plans, as you well know, up to
England lumber.
England lumber. And there's been one plan that was floated by Bill O'Neill himself, is to have a crosswalk, a hawk light, which is only activated by people that are there. It basically stays green all the time until you're crossing with the bike, then it stops the traffic. And that was
Stopping Route 6 traffic?
Route 6, yeah.
right there at the hardware store. Right at that
Oh,
terrible
so you got
intersection.
6 or 44.
I'm sorry, it's Route 44.
Okay. Okay, so you got a light there anyways.
Yes, got light there anyway. And that's where he was proposing to cross.
Very similar thing up in Vernon where they reconstructed the old trolley bridge across the river up there, between the area where the Vernon sewage disposal plant is. I can't remember, it's a state road, numbered state road.
74.
And there's a walkway across as you come up the Hockham River Trail. If you want to get to that very interesting bridge and connect the trail, to get across the state road, there's a push button walkway light. There's no crossroad or anything. The only thing there is people, hikers crossing.
I'll have to check it out.
Well, what they call the missing link from Notch Park to this
Nathan Hale.
England
Yeah.
would be, is currently on hold at DOT, even in the design phase, and again, for money.
If we're gonna cross that much traffic, we almost need a bridge. Just like, I know that's a lot of money, and I know that's a 10-year grant and the whole business, but stopping traffic is going to be difficult. We need a way to cross without dealing with the traffic at all. Just like the new trail, the new bike trails.
Yeah, well, they were able to figure out a way to avoid Bolton Center Road, so, but that took a very long time as well. So we continue to meet with DOT on a fairly regular basis, about once every 4 to 6 months, and the story doesn't change. So.
On the thought of the Nathan Hale Greenway, though, Patrice and I have been trying to think. We have an opportunity to submit 2 items for review for 10.1, the innovation action. And again, you can only submit 2 for each time that you submit an application. And you can get anywhere between 5 and 20 points for those submissions. We're trying to come up with a list of things that we believe would get 20 points. I don't think that necessarily the Nathan Hale Greenway study would rise to the level of 20 points, but I will add it to our list of potentials. If anybody else has identified something in their mind that says, "Oh, it's too bad that this packet doesn't include X, Y, or Z," share those with. But Bolton's done it. Share those with Patrice and I, and we'll try and pick the 2 at the end that we feel have the greatest impact, and we'll send those along.
Yeah, that's basically thinking outside of the box. These are things other people have done. Come up with your own idea, and let's go with that. So let's move on to.
Is there more copies of that document?
Yes,
Yes,
right
we
here.
do.
Oh.
Sorry, Peter, you should have spoken up. Anybody else need another copy? I'd like to move on to.
Sam, just a real quick question for you. Bike Walk Bolton, do you think they would do a bicycle pedestrian audit? Do they already do that under 5.5? Conduct a bicycle or pedestrian audit. The audit should include an inventory analysis of the availability of sidewalks, curb ramps, crosswalks, off-road bicycle pedestrian paths, bicycle lanes, shared use lanes, bicycle parking, pedestrian traffic signals, and any other additional components your municipality wishes
I don't
to
know
include.
that they've done that, but I think they would be interested in assisting.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would.
I think this is right up their alley.
Yeah.
Right up their bike path.
For 5.5.2,
Sorry.
I thought they would be interested in that.
That's worth it.
5.5.2, a bicycle
That's
education
right.
program.
Yep.
Yeah,
Bike, it reminds me of
Who's
tunnel.
that we're referring?
bike walk
Better
Bolton.
legend.
I know they've
Just
had
slow. I'm slow with
a
puns.
bike education program, and I bet they'd also be willing to do one again in the spring, because they do have, a couple of their members went through the process to become certified bicycle education people, so
Sure.
yeah, that would be good too.
And for those of you that weren't here at the last meeting, they're proposing lights in the tunnel because, and they actually had a really good video of riding through the tunnel with their sunglasses on, how it's such a contrast and it's a safety issue. And their idea, I think, is a good one. You just have LED lights and have it motion activated, so it's not all the time. It's only on when you're in your bike and you're going through the tunnel.
If it's motion activated, the energy committee would be okay with that.
The only thing is, I think they were looking into the issue of amphibians and turtles that use the area for migration. So that's something. There is a waterway that goes through there. But once they find
But
out,
if it's motion detected, and there's very
Yeah,
few
it's
people
very
who are down there in
limited,
the
very-
evening, so.
right?
Well, they were more concerned during the day, I think, because of the change.
Oh, yes. No, I mean, the humans were, I'm talking about
The motion center,
Yeah.
turtle hike.
the turtle. I don't think the turtles will turn them on, but I heard a horror story
turn them on.
today about Coventry who has to cut down a specific group of trees, but a bat, endangered bat has been discovered living in one of the trees.
Ooh.
So they have to get somebody to come and track the bat and move them.
Relocate it. Yeah.
And then they can only take the tree down after the bat's been moved, but before bat mating season, which begins as soon as the weather warms. So it's like, well, they're probably not going to come out, so we can trap them until.
Is it the Manchester?
No, this is Coventry.
Coventry.
Love my bats. I do.
I like
They're
my
little
bats, too.
skeeters.
Yeah, they do. All right. Benchmark and track energy use. It sounds, Rich, like you've got a lot of
I've got
those.
that covered. I could have had one of the benchmarks in my hand today, it just didn't work out. I was planning on bringing, that was something I had promised to have for tonight. I was actually expecting to be able to finish this one by tonight. I'm close, but can't quite get it there. And then I'll get, so next time we show up, I'll have the 2018 and 2019 benchmarks.
Excellent.
What is the SCT portfolio manager?
I don't know. I noticed that tonight, and I'm going to have to look that up. Because I have my benchmarks all Excel spreadsheet. I don't know what Energy Star Portfolio
I've used
Manager
that before.
is.
It's pretty straightforward. I've used it before.
The SCT.
Or the Energy Star portfolio.
Isn't that
manager.
sustainable?
SCT is sustainable
Oh, okay.
Connecticut.
They're just using
You know,
that acronym throughout.
I'm confused. I was watching this like I said, this Lead Conservation Voters annual meeting, and they were talking. They had an energy panel that was talking about CCAs or something. There's another term again about towns in which they can change the structure in which their residents subscribe to different energy companies. Have you heard about that, Sandy? Have you heard about it? There's a lot of towns that are signing on to this, but at the end of the debate, at the end of the panel discussion, it looked like they needed expertise to help them through. And somebody that was in the energy sector that could help you Okay, look into CCA.
We need to have that cup of coffee we were talking about.
Basically, this looks like sharing the data, right? Or sharing
I'm not sure if
from one
letters
portfolio to another.
Maybe it's like because something
You
to do
submit your
with
performance under.
You know how we all.
I think the
We are,
Sustainable Connecticut Portfolio Manager is a way, just a data sharing vehicle.
That's right. I think that's what it is.
Because the Energy Star portfolio manager, I think you can share. That's
Yeah.
free, and if you're tracking on Excel, this is easier. I had to do it for class.
Oh, good. We have an experienced
Train.
data filler, a trained data filler at it.
So 6.2, I don't know how to get an energy audit for Bolton buildings. I'm willing to learn, and that's someplace where we've wanted to go, but we've had our hands full lately.
Is that similar to the home energy audit that you get?
No, it's there was some complaint filed a couple years back that there was not one state-owned building that has had an energy audit in living memory.
Oh, my goodness.
And that forced the state to start doing stuff. And I know that West Towerford Town Hall got an energy audit. We're going back to 10 years now. Not Town Hall. Their municipal center, their municipal public works department got an energy audit. And they came in with one auditor, and he just did the easy stuff, lights and stuff. He saved them 15% on their, not 15% off their electrical usage. Then he said, well, you guys are pumping a lot of water and doing a lot of these other things with motors. So then they brought in another guy, and he knocked an additional 15% off just doing motors and controls.
Wow.
So, and that was West Hartford Municipal Garage or something. So I know that other towns have done it successfully. I just don't know how to do it. So we can get big points here. There's 50 points for reduce.
I bet this is something the CT people will tell you too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
the same thing.
I think you're right.
I want to go there. I really do want to go here. I just don't have any expertise in this area.
And I think last time I asked a question about this building that we're meeting in here, Sandy, this has been upgraded, but this doesn't fall in. It was done too long ago.
Yeah,
It doesn't
it's too
qualify.
long ago.
But maybe it's time to do it again too, if you get that energy audit too throughout the thing. I know the state's got a couple of programs where, like with East Hartford schools, we use Johnson Controls. They did that energy audit, and the only way they got paid was by percentage of what they saved us. So that we started with the town, and we did it with the schools, and now we're coming up to round 3 of that. So again, this was done a while ago, and this so maybe it's time again now.
I would love
I can
to
get
do.
information on that and how we got Johnson Controls, but there's got to be 4 or 5 different companies out there now that do that. And again, you don't pay for it.
Nurac in Tallinn does that, don't they?
That doesn't ring a bell.
I don't think so.
heard of
I
that.
thought they were.
Yeah, I've got 4 or 5 that I get the calls from all the time, and I talk to. When I talk to other towns that have done it successfully, Johnson Controls rings out because it was done politically. I mean, it was,
Well,
but there's others.
do we have to put this out for public bid, this kind of thing?
It's not costing
Depends.
you anything.
It depends, well, yeah, if it's a freebie, we probably don't. But,
I can get you some of the language that he started to use, because
yeah,
back in the day, they did not put it out to bid. Round 2 and 3, we put out to bid. But again, the only way they got paid was by the savings that they achieved from you, so technically, I guess you are paying them. But let me get the language behind how they do that, or
but
whether that's on the
if you're,
state.
I'd rather spend $1 and save 2, or even save 50 cents, than spend the $1.50 than I'm,
And it would
that
make
I've
Rich
been
happy,
saving.
because it looks at everything. It looks at the motors, it looks at the lights, it looks at the doors,
Right.
it looks at,
yeah. The doors around here leak like no tomorrow, but there's not much we can do about it. Can't change the doors on a
Yeah,
historic
that-
building.
I'll get you the information on that. Actually, if I get it, I'll share it with everybody on here, so at least they can see, and we're all on the same page with it too.
We might see other towns, what they've done too. If West Hartford, like you say, has done something, I mean, maybe it's not reinventing the wheel and trying to figure out how to do it. It's who did they use, or,
Yeah.
Right.
how did they have a cost savings,
Would you be able to
process
look
like East
online and
Hartford.
see if you can find out what somebody else did?
I can get the guy from West Hartford the
Yeah,
information on him.
If it's on the Sustainable CT website,
Yeah.
that's possible. Well, yeah, because if we could get some energy audits going, that's another way to save money, because the town spends
A lot.
a lot. And in 2017, I think they spent $400,000 a year on energy.
I
Without
tell you, those high school lights are on for a long time.
counting vehicle fuels.
Are they LED or
Yeah.
CFLs?
High school should be LEDs.
LEDs?
But it
These
is,
are all
right.
fluorescent,
I
aren't they?
never expected
these are
those
LEDs?
exterior lights to be on as long as they are. I live right next door. I live right next door to the high school, and now that all the trees are clear and it's a cold, crisp night, those lights just, I swear to God, they hum.
they
Yeah,
do.
they're on, and I know, when Ray, when all of that was done, there was a lot of problems with trespassing on the high school property. I used to get, a knock on my door from Ray. Hey, Kitty, did you hear the cars over there in the parking lot last night? He'd be like, no, I was sleeping. But the lights are on. That is, I swear you can see it from space. It is that bright. And that's otherwise a
good.
very dark road.
That doesn't help.
But I don't think it's,
We lose points on that.
We're not gonna tell them.
serious, yeah. I was impressed, but not in a good way, living right next door. Otherwise, it was always very, very quiet and low lighting, but
Aren't the
sometimes
lights
I
pointing
think in the
down?
summer
Yes,
they
they
go
are.
down.
Yeah.
I think they do diminish or something during the wee hours, especially in the summertime, but in the winter, it's just
But again,
really
maybe that
bright.
whole system can be put on a motion detector like we're
Yes, I
talking
was just
about.
gonna say that,
Lights,
motion detection would save some money there.
Yeah, I really, it's a utilization issue, not just an energy efficiency issue. It's a utilization issue. But I know that I brought it up to Ray, and of course Ray said, Kitty, I'm retiring.
I would love to walk down that road too.
Stan?
Come visit us anytime at night after everybody's left the high school and it's closed, and you will see it's a beacon. Yeah.
Is it on all night?
On your list of-
They're on all night, and my bedroom's face
That's one of
that.
your the companies that you,
No, I like it.
I haven't used them, but
you're aware of them,
yeah,
yeah.
I think they stopped working.
Because my son works for them now.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry,
exactly in that
conflict of
field,
interest,
so
that's-
let me talk to him and see if
Yeah.
he has any ideas.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, so we, I think we're probably up to, implement 6.8, implement a community energy plan.
6.5.
6.5? Oh, that's develop a municipal energy plan. I totally skipped that, sorry.
I'm trying to remember what the yellow shading is for.
They said that.
I think it means it's new.
Oh, it's
Yellow
over there.
highlighting in a box shows that action has.
Oh,
been
renumbered for
Renumbered for
Renumbered,
improved
okay,
clarity.
thank
And then the red is the new
Okay.
texted red.
This is off topic, but somewhat related. School bus fuel. Does anybody know what grade they use? Or is there a choice?
It's diesel.
It's just diesel, right? I
Well,
was behind a school bus the other day in Vernon, and I swear it was home heating oil. It smelled so bad. I
Well,
couldn't breathe.
about 15 years ago, just real brief.
Yep.
About 15 years ago, there was some sort of problem where they were doing the air quality inside the school buses. So it was so toxic inside the school buses that eventually the entire Connecticut formulation of diesel fuel, all the diesel fuel in the state got reformulated to get sold in Connecticut because some of it's going to the school buses. So I know they've done a lot to clean up the diesel fuel that's going in the buses. I don't know what they've done, but I know it's less toxic than it was.
Because
It's
you
like a low
know,
sulfur thing, it's a special additive they have to put for it. I went to one of those classes when they were first doing that.
Yeah.
The world was gonna stop because they had to add this additive to it. It works seamlessly. But a lot of, like with these Starford too, we're also switching to propane buses. We've got 2 of them
Yeah.
now. There's grants out there for propane, for electric.
electric down too. As a matter of fact, the Volkswagen settlement. You
Yeah,
heard about the
exactly.
Volkswagen settlement?
Yeah.
That,
This
that
is
money's
round-
being used for electric school buses.
This is
That
round
would be
2 or round
sweet.
3. It is a
We
gazillion
don't own our
dollars.
school buses.
We don't own them either in East Hartford.
Oh.
We go through DACO, so we're working it out with them, where you don't have to own it necessarily to reap the benefits from it, but you have to be involved in using it. So, again, it's all Volkswagen. This is round 2 or round 3 now, and it's like $1 billion or something. It's
For the state?
through
Or
the
throughout the whole country?
Volkswagen's settlement.
Right, but how much does the state get, do you know? Is it that much?
Enough to give a lot of different companies a lot of vehicles, both electric, refuse trucks.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of private companies are coming in now and taking some of that money too, because they're reducing that diesel usage and they're going propane, electric. There's another one out there too.
Fuel cell. There's a fuel cell bus that drives around.
They're back.
That's him.
Well, actually,
I
maybe
drove one for they're no longer,
they're no longer.
no, UTC Power went out, years ago.
They sold out.
Yeah, but anyways, there are alternatives to it, and diesel is getting cleaner, and the mileage is coming up on them. But the propane thing is working out well for a lot of school districts and a lot of towns too. Again, I can share that information on the settlement, the grants, the applications for it.
Yeah, because I was told there's some issues about how they're using that money, so I'd like to know more.
Private companies are getting brand new
Yeah, they're
vehicles,
not using for the
$500,000
intent. The
vehicles.
intent was for clean energy, and they're not.
They didn't. Well, they
So
are.
they're buying old diesel.
No, they're buying.
generators.
There's stipulations on it. You got to buy
There
electric.
is,
You got to buy
okay.
propane. You got to
Good.
buy new. So there are stipulations, and they're sticking to it. But
Huh.
companies are benefiting from it rather than
Instead of
municipalities.
governments. Right.
And because they weren't getting a lot of applications, that was the feeling I got.
Really?
So we're pushing it. I don't know if Bolton can do that and go for
We
an
don't
electric
own our
vehicle
school
at the same
buses.
time, or,
No, we don't know, we subcontract.
Yeah.
and so do we subcontracted that go, so.
How about our town fleet? How about getting electric truck, van to use for municipal?
It's in here, it's in
So
here as one of the,
Really?
It is in here as one of the
yeah,
options.
same thing with the
We
charging
actually
station.
haven't looked at electric vehicles for
This is parenting tonight.
trucks,
Put the
but
kids to bed. Good night,
we do
everybody.
have several cars available for municipal employees. An electric vehicle could, excuse me, should be considered when we're in the replacement cycle, but
I think
we're not
electric-
close to that yet.
An electric car for a first selectman would be,
There's
Yeah,
a
well,
charging station right out here.
The
The
energy,
first selectman's husband needs to be convinced of that.
the
She
energy,
wanted one.
the energy committee has looked into the possibility of electrical vehicle chargers, and we're still looking into it. Tesla has a program where you can put in a charger, and they will pay 100% of the cost of putting in a charger that works for Teslas. Then they will pay 50% of the cost of putting in a charger that will work with any electric car, and the two go side by side. And
whereabouts, like commuter lot maybe?
we were thinking about the town hall.
Huh?
Either town hall or library would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but we haven't figured out the cost system yet, because I know that there's money to be had to pay for, because the power is given away for free. There's a payment system that feeds these chargers. I think it comes from Reggie money, but I haven't
So we
figured it
got-
out. I haven't
we got-
figured it all out yet.
We got 2 put in East Hartford for nothing, and that was through the DOT. So let me check back on
Yeah.
how we did it there, and again, I'll share it.
Why don't you come over for a cup of coffee? Steve?
Tell you, you walk your kid, I'll walk my grandkids, and we'll talk, okay?
All right.
Okay, we are approaching 8:30.
So where do we stop? Where are we?
I think we are,
6.5.
Just to finish off this page, I could jump in and say
Okay.
that I'm going to talk to Lance and John about 6.6 and get you for next time an inventory and hopefully at least a draft of a strategy going forward. We're in the middle of we're at the tail end now of developing a capital plan to present to CAPA, and it wouldn't be much more work to just stretch that out so we could see the full 20-year look. They seem to already have it down, at least in their own minds, so it's just getting down on paper now.
Easy 10 points?
Easy 10 points. I was also just looking forward.
I know the Board of Finance had asked for an inventory of town vehicles and their ages
Okay,
last year, so you may find something.
that might already be developed.
Well, at least through last year. I know
Right.
there's been some changes during this year that will need to be updated, but it'll get us points with the Board of Finance if we show up with that when we deliver our budget.
I'd say that 6.5 and 6.6 are both 10 points, but I'm not saying they're easy 10 points.
I think 6.6, if we have the information as readily available as I think we do, and I think Sandy thinks we do, then that might be easier than most, at the very least. 6.8, I also wonder if, there are some people here in this room who are really interested in sitting down with me and talking about, maybe we do a community challenge that tries to get folks, and I don't know how we would, best go about monitoring that or even pursuing it, but I think even 2 or 3 people putting their heads together on how we can try and encourage, especially as we approach Earth Day. I know that we're approaching, I think, 50 years, right? So that might be a great initiative to kick off, and April just so happens to be our deadline.
I've got a CBC television program on how one can use the various state programs to implement, to insulate their house and do a heat pump, and what's available in Capital for Change, which is a private funding system. There's like 3 of them, and we went through all the programs and a movie and a TV show, like I want to say summer of 2017. I don't know if that counts.
It says within 3 years prior to the application submission, so depending on when it's
Depending on
2017.
when in 2017.
Yeah, maybe I can. I have it on disc.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
How about our streetlights? Who owns our streetlights?
We do,
We do. And how many of those are LED?
all of them.
All of them. Okay. Wow.
A couple that are.
You
Check
have,
that out.
really?
Corner of Maple Valley and Maple Valley, right on your corner there.
Maple Valley to me.
No, Maple Valley and Maple Valley, you know where it loops around, goes by your house, goes
Yep.
back
You know
up.
how they do that?
There's
Oh.
one that they missed there.
Ooh.
And then there's one where I walk my dog up there at night, I think it's right behind the church. There's a parking lot
That
back
might
there.
be the church's lot, the church's light, not the town's light.
Okay, so that wouldn't fall into that. Plus, I got a request from other neighbors, that same street or the same pattern that you're putting that walkway on. If you're looking out from the library to where that main street is, right where they recut the road. Remember how, what is it, Old Bolton Road or Old?
It used to go.
Right, so right where they dropped it on the main street, a couple of my neighbors now have complained to me because I ended up getting the other street light put in on the corner of Toomey and Maple Valley, that when they hit that corner there and in the dark, they can't see.
It's very difficult. I
Yeah.
tried to come that way the other night and it's very difficult to
So
find
I
that
was
road
gonna-
if you don't know where it is.
I was gonna go to somebody again and ask about those two things. Number one, looking
That's
at
us.
the street light, Maple Valley, Maple Valley.
That would be
Okay.
us.
Maple Valley, Maple Valley, and then again, putting a street light on that corner too because it's dangerous. So I'll put it in writing and send it over to you. To Josh. Sorry.
No, you're good. Please.
And I'll keep my eyes open for more street lights that aren't
Please do.
LED.
How can you tell? Just
Yeah.
by the color that it emits, or?
Well, these other ones are all
The LEDs
sodium.
are a new design.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little nice bright light, but if you look down again, Maple Valley, where it loops around, it's the old, I think it's a big sodium, big ballast
Yeah.
beast, and it's
Wow.
it's a yellowish
Sucking
light.
up all kinds
Yeah,
of
there's
energy.
yellow
Correct.
versus bluish.
Ugh.
And there's other ones, you look at the ones out here, and they're nice,
Sure,
bright,
sure, yeah.
bright.
I
Sure.
I don't think that
Like,
we
and they're
have.
focused different ways.
But
This
if
one
they
is just a
wanted it.
big broadcast.
True. Helps
Good to
people
know.
sleep.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how many people here have all LED lights in their house?
Pretty much.
Look at this. How cool are we? Except for Jay.
Wow.
300-year-old house.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Declaring
You're
that
excused.
right
Yep. Your grandfather.
Yeah.
Tell David's grandfather.
We have
Just
many
about to
LEDs.
replace
We have
all
the
the
LEDs
exteriors.
that you can turn on with your phone.
Wow.
Do you know they even sell the floodlights that used to be like $20 for an LED light? They're down to $5 now
Yeah.
for floodlights. It's amazing how much money you can save.
Okay, so this brings us to start with number 7 at our next meeting when we get to the point that
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could maybe invite Deb Livingston to the when we get to the sevens sustainable food networks, encouraging healthy sustainable food, report materials management. She's got some really good ideas for the schools, and I have some issues with the schools and how they're not recycling anymore like they used to, and for public events. So maybe we can invite her along, or I can give her a call, let her know she's invited.
Who controls how the schools recycle? I mean,
Board of Education
Board of Ed.
Superintendent.
Should have brought that up when Ann was here, yeah. And we you know, the Winter Fair, they didn't recycle. And last year when Ray was here, he made a point of having big blue bins so people could, and all the, you know, all their 5 cent deposit plastic bottles were in the trash.
ouch.
Wow.
Sad. These are kids. These are in the center school.
Wow.
I don't
That
get
has
it.
a higher probability, the for money, you know, with the bottle deposit, it has a higher recycling rate than the other plastics that go single stream, but there's no excuse for it.
So we could obviously make some change to get some points for it. Maybe we could, make some change here. It's
What
a
we
good,
need to do is get the scouts to be monitored
I was just gonna say, yeah.
somebody, yeah.
Is it a policy or it's just a practice that either happens or it
The
doesn't?
high school and the center school.
They use foam trays to
Oh, I
deliver the
see,
students.
yeah.
Don't even tell me that. Don't. No.
Yes. So yeah, Debbie's furious. She needs some support with that. And if we can make some change and get some points out of it, it's a win-win.
You know, I'm just wondering. I'm noticing that a couple of the grocery stores have recently moved into the compostable.
Meat trays.
Well, no, yeah, the food containers, and I think Highland Park just invested in it. I know Molly, and I can give her a call because I know that she's been working on, Molly Devaney has been working on some of these committees around sustainability or, you know, they just moved to, I think, biodegradable containers rather than the compostable ones, but I just can't imagine that it's that costly to use some of these.
Ironically, right before I left, the food service director for East Hartford, Sodexo, came to me because her and I are trying to
Yeah,
do the same thing.
Sodexo's doing the same thing on universities.
She's trying to get local people or local companies that do that, but right now she couldn't get the guy to call her back on the price of it. But that's
The
what they're trying to do.
biodegradable or the compostable? Those are two different things. Biodegradable, it breaks down, but it doesn't necessarily break down to compost, where a compostable tray actually does within 90 days of hitting
Okay,
a
sorry.
compost.
That's
It
a
will,
good point.
Marketing ploy, you gotta be careful of that.
yes, yes.
We have tree tubes in our park, in Fred Park, tree tubes that are supposed to prevent the deer from eating on trees, made by Tree Essentials. They're made with cornstarch. They're supposed to break down in 6 months. It's been 7 years.
No,
They're not breaking down.
yeah, being careful,
You know,
yeah.
when I was
yeah.
at URI, they got those, and they were trying to do that, and they couldn't find a composting place that would take them.
I would take them.
So
Well,
they
these
had
the
to
ones I looked at
throw
were
them
made
out.
out of sugar cane, and they broke down.
So then it's probably biodegradable. The question about the compostable one is, and I think it's got to be a cost issue in terms of what
Yeah.
it's made of. But I know Sodexo. I was at the University of New Haven and then Central, and Sodexo does use some biodegradable plates and products. And
So
they're,
what do we want for Bolton, compostable or biodegradable?
I think we want to talk to Deb.
I think,
Yes, thank you.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Deb has got kids in the school system,
Yeah.
and she's been on this. She's been attending our meetings on a regular basis. We had Ray Boyd come to the meeting, and we all had an agreement. Ray helped us out tremendously, and then he retired on us, unfortunately. And
Well,
it's back to square one again.
The cafeteria in the schools is a contract.
Right.
So it's a decision between the Board of Education and their contractor
Okay.
as far as that goes. But we certainly can
Purchasing your
talk
training.
about the,
Styrofoam. Yeah.
I just think that's,
because I know the
did
other
not
thing
know that.
Deb was.
I have a real
Deb
hard
was-
time with.
There's countries that are banning it.
So both Dunkin' Donuts and in the River Conservancy, and I can get passionate, so tone me down. Dunkin' Donuts and Cumberland Farms were the two highest styrofoam products found in the Connecticut River through the source to sea cleanup. I mean, ridiculous. And I can't remember if it was Cumberland or Dunkin' that just said they're removing all of, it was
Dunkin',
Dunkin',
removed
right?
all their
They're
foam
doing it.
They're
containers.
removing all of their styrofoam.
Not for a while, though. I think 2022 is it?
No, I saw it.
I've
In
heard
most
it was
stores,
pretty-
they're gone.
I heard it was pretty immediate, yeah,
Really?
Well, they started like 2 years ago, I think.
yeah.
Good
So
news.
that's what I'm saying, in terms of a school district, we're not so huge, you know, I would think that to really make it an
And
intent,
they're
even
not
if we
using-
project.
They're not
so
using
not to use styrofoam.
washable trays or washable silverware anymore. It's all throwaway.
It's a virtuous cycle problem.
Yes,
So if people aren't using it, it's expensive. If people start using it, the price will drop precipitously.
yeah.
And I know that there's silverware, I'm calling it silverware, but what you'll call
Like
plastic,
sporks.
like a plastic fork that is compostable. I went to an event and I have one at home. Like you could actually eat it if you were really, really desperate. It's not toxic and it breaks down and it does everything you want a plastic fork to do. I have no information on this, but I know they exist.
Yes, yeah.
Why don't they do, like when I was in school, which was not that long ago, They have reusable.
Right.
Oh,
Right,
is it just
it's-
expensive or?
I-
Because that's the best.
Not on the Board of
really.
Education, and I don't know why I only have
Well, I'll tell you,
Sorry.
talked to Deb, and
we make a note of silverware in restaurants, and if you haven't been to Georgina's lately, they finally switched up from camping silverware to really better grade. But their issue is the throwaway. The issue is that she told me that the loss of, Sula told me that the loss of silverware through the busing process is ridiculous. So it's costly to replace silverware that is reusable because of the carelessness in throwing product away. So to me, that's, yeah.
Silverware.
I don't know, the LOB
They're
does
shrimps,
it, you know,
though.
the
Get rid of the
legislative office
styrofoam.
building still uses washable silverware and, you know, although they still have plastic as well, but that still seems to make it through, but,
We had it at Rockville High when I went there.
yeah. You went to Rockville High? I went to Rockville High. Oh my God, we have to talk. Rockville High.
you two can go for coffee.
Not too many people went to Rockville High, yeah, that I meet.
I will talk about anything anybody wants to talk to. If you buy me a cup of coffee, you've got my attention.
I'll need your
Sounds
mug.
familiar.
Okay, do we have a next meeting date set, Josh?
We do not.
We need to do that.
Is it possible to at least schedule out for the next couple of months? If we have an April deadline, we only have February,
That'd be
March.
nice.
We could certainly do that.
Really good
I'd
idea.
like to just recommend that, yeah.
I'd also like to see who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
Which of these
Yeah.
two-digit numbers listed right on the roster?
Right on the roster, I don't know.
You know, like
As we can do
here's-
that, but we certainly
here's
can
Stanley Stern.
update this with,
here's Stanley's how to contact Stanley. Here's the number 3.2 and 3.9,
Oh,
the
gotcha.
ones that Stanley's
Yeah,
working on.
like I don't know if this
So
is
that
done
we
in
don't-
Excel or a Word table, but if
This
we
is-
could.
I'll go ahead and make an Excel sheet, right, and
Yeah.
Rich has been kind enough to provide us with a roster template that he's used in the past, and we can incorporate
excellent.
assignments to
Because
that.
that way we can communicate. Without it, we're just kind
Yeah.
of.
Now, talking about that FOI thing, Josh, is this a public meeting so that once we communicate, we all, have you guys gone through the FOI thing numerous times already?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't there something about once we communicate as a committee that it has to be open to the public, or even if it's an email?
So as long as you do not communicate, and this is a tricky line to
Right.
follow, because as soon as you forward it to somebody else, even if you didn't copy the first person on it, it could be a meeting. So please be careful. As long as you may correspond with anybody in this group, as long as it is less than a quorum. So given that we are missing 2 members here today, so you're talking about, you can't have 5 people on an email. If you have 4 or fewer, you can talk amongst each other.
Unless it's related to
No.
agenda items?
No.
So,
Nothing.
so that's related to agenda items. If
Like
you're
the next
talking
meeting?
about getting coffee, then don't worry about it. You can all be on that email. But if you want to talk together about items pertaining to this committee's purview, you need to make sure that you have fewer people on that email
Than a quorum. Which
Please,
is-
and if you're close to that number, don't forward it to anybody else.
Okay.
Because that would push it over,
Thank you.
and that's tough. But I would recommend that if you're going to work on something, try and work in groups of 3s. That would be a safe bet, 2s or 3s. If you want to come in and talk to staff, or if you want to get a message out to everybody, you can always use town staff. So email me, email Patrice, we will get the message out to everybody, and then each of you can email us back individually. That's kind of a workaround. That way we have communications moving, but you're not all having an illegal meeting online. I know that's a lot, but in any case, better to err on the side of caution.
Right.
Okay.
So next meeting.
I'd like to suggest either February 19th or the 26th.
26th. Might be a problem for me. Kekiwick.
Either one is fine.
19th would be better for me.
Friends of Bolton Lakes has a meeting on the 19th.
Oh. Really, Peter?
Third Wednesday?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
I should know that.
6:30. Not true, but there's nothing here.
I can do
There's
February.
nothing here on the 26th.
I can do February 26th.
Is the 26th was not working for you, Rob?
I don't know. I thought I had the Cacuic meetings on here, but Monday the 24th. FOI is the 24th.
Yep.
I think Cacuic meets on the 26th, but I'm not positive. But I can send somebody else in my place. Peter can come. Actually, I'd like to have Jean Loffman come. She's really into recycling. I think it'd
Sure.
be great for her to be here instead of me.
That'd be fine.
Great. So 26th works good.
Okay, the
7 p.m.
26th, and then, in the middle of something, come back.
Yep.
And then how about March?
Yeah. Cancel, save.
Careful, they could be copying my secret codes.
Yeah.
The whole town just saw my passcode to get on my cell phone.
So what's the February meeting?
Don't worry, I don't think the camera can see
Yeah,
over your
the
shoulder.
26th, that's
I normally don't speak in public unless I'm actually prepared, which here I am on TV.
We already know you love coffee.
Yeah. Sold.
Okay,
What's the
so,
March date? Sorry, I missed it.
I'm also looking at March 18th or March 25th.
I can do the 25th and not the 18th.
Either one
25th
works.
is free here at Town Hall.
Let's do the 25th then.
And when is this document due, in April?
Or
application?
At some point in April.
Oh,
I
okay, so
don't
it's
know.
not specific like the 1st of April
Yeah,
or
no,
something
no,
like
I don't
that?
believe so,
After tax day, maybe?
yeah. Here's hoping for my
Yes.
sake, but,
March 25th.
yeah.
Great, so I definitely plan on contacting the town of Canton regarding the complete streets policy.
Good.
I don't know what number that was, but
I have an extremely busy next couple of days, but my hope is that by the end of my workday on Friday, I will have emailed to each of you this roster of, first and foremost, email addresses so you can all contact each other.
Okay.
But also, at least to the best of my knowledge, items that we have each individually agreed to take upon ourselves. If you feel like something is missing, and I'll reiterate this in the email, but if you feel like something's missing that you really want to be working on, email me back. I'll figure out who else might be interested in working with you on that item, and we'll go from there. That way we can make some headway before the next meeting.
I know it may feel like we're not making headway, but I think we actually are making
I think
some
I've learned a lot.
really good projects,
There's a
some
lot of
really good headway, and
really
shared
good
a lot
ideas.
of good information that wasn't around. Jane?
There's a lot of thorny
This is
issues.
very cool.
Yeah.
I like this.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of thorny issues. A lot of stuff that
Needs
is
to
a
be done.
lot of work.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think we've ever had a forum where we bring out all these environmental issues all at once. It's pretty interesting. Especially, we didn't talk about water, well water. And I think that's, with PFAS now and the recycling issue.
And also that at the same time, a lot of this has already been done with other towns that you talked about low hanging fruit. It's a matter of going and looking, you said a lot of this, their applications
Complete
are on the
streets.
site.
Yeah.
I mean, you go, you tailor it to your needs, you submit it, okay, there's your points. I mean, bang, 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 bang.
Good artists copy, great artists steal.
Correct, and then you go above and beyond that and you do stuff that hasn't been done. Once you got your certifications and you're happy and you're on a roll, you find things that nobody else has done and you set the trend for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got the intelligence here and you got the willingness to do it, so.
Speaking of artists, I don't know if any of you have been into the Selectmen's office, but hanging over Kathy McCavanaugh's desk is a shot of the silo at the Heritage Farm Barn. And her daughter just won first prize in a high school art photographic competition and is now going on to represent the state of Connecticut in a national
Wow.
art competition.
Fantastic.
And it's our barn.
Great.
Get it in the calendar.
Wow.
Yeah, have her submit it to the photo contest.
told Kathy to-
No guarantees you're gonna win, but.
Told it to put it out on the website, but if the office is open, so if you want, just take a walk in to
That's great.
check out that. It's,
Yeah.
I've admired the photograph so many times and not asked where it came from, but she was very proud today to say that it was her
I
daughter's.
admired her last time I was there, and she gave me a big smile about it, but she didn't tell me where it came from.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. Kathy's very modest.
Now, these meeting dates are going to be on the internet,
Correct.
town website.
Town calendar too?
We'll put them in the Bolton Bulletin. They'll be on the website, the calendar,
Okay.
the
The
website.
calendar, the website.
Calendar on the website.
On the town webpage? Gotcha.
Excuse me, thank you.
And I hope that this is a little heartening. I haven't gone through everything that we've discussed, but of the few items that I was able to put down on paper here in the last few minutes, I've already counted up 130 points that we've discussed really working on. So
Great.
we're well on our way.
Excellent. Thank you all for coming. See you
Thanks,
next
Andy.
month.